Welcome to the Encouragement Engineering Podcast. We combat the negativity that inundates our daily lives with a positive perspective and positive action. Today's guest is Kelli Calabrese. Kelli is a wellness coach of 34 years, speaker, best-selling author, and entrepreneur. With 3 science degrees and 27 certifications, she is an expert on all wellness topics, including fitness, weight loss, energy, youthful aging, and sleep. She is also mindset pro, focusing on renewing your thoughts, setting boundaries, visualizing, meditating, and goal setting. Kelli leads with spirit, mind, body approach to well-being and speaks on forgiveness, purpose, joy, and love. As a certified divorce coach, she can help people get through the grief of separation, divorce, and post-divorce to live an amazing bonus life. So please welcome to the show, Kelli Calabrese. Kelli, thank you again for taking the time to be here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob. It is an honor, and I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for what you're doing to bring this show to the world.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, for our listeners, why don't we start out by telling them a little bit about you, how you got to where you are, without going into too much detail, but obviously you have a passion for education, now the certifications, 3 science degrees. So tell us about you.
Absolutely. Well, I knew really early on what I wanted to do. In fact, at age 13, I wrote in my diary, I will be an exercise therapist, and didn't even really know what that meant, but I just knew that I wanted to be well and wanted to help as many people as possible be well. I mean, I hate sickness, I hate disease, I hate lack, I hate poverty. And so I wake up every day with this desire for people to be their best. And I've had a beautiful journey of owning and operating health clubs, managing corporate fitness centers, writing, speaking, consulting, editing, spokesperson, media work, network marketing. I mean, I've done a lot of cool things, fitness boot camps outdoors, and best-selling author. So it's been fun. The vehicles change, but the message is always the same.
Good, good. Now, obviously, with, like I said, that you've got 3 science degrees, and was the science degrees, was that part of what you wanted for the fitness and wellness, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so I was actually the first person in my family to go to college. I love knowledge, and I just always want to pursue that. So by the time I was 22, I had finished a master's degree in clinical exercise physiology and cardiac rehabilitation. And I was committed to get my PhD, but I wanted to take a year off and work. And then I wound up meeting my husband, and I wound up not going back for my PhD, but I committed to getting at least 1 new certification every year. And I'm just about done that. I'm 34 years in with 27 certifications, give or take.
That's a lot. It's a lot of dedication, a lot of focus. That's congratulations. So now your coaching is, you've done divorce coaching and so forth. That came about from your experience, right?
Absolutely. So 24 years into my marriage, my former husband came home and he said, my commitment to our marriage is 0. And he left. And it floored me. I mean, really emptied me out, took me to my knees, made me question everything about my life. And I went on a journey to heal because it was so painful. I had to find something to stop the pain. And I wanted to find something healthy, because when you're in that much pain, you're going to do something. And I watched friends around me getting divorced who were turning to another man, or alcohol, or escapism, or isolation, or even over exercising. I mean, you can take something that seems good and do it to excess because you're not really dealing with the soul issues. So I went on that journey and I did all the things, and I feel like I really came out on the other side of it. And I felt like I was really led to help women get through this grief in a healthy way.
Well, and it's such a great, if you will, I'll say service, if you will, for what you do to help others, because I mean the statistics are there. Obviously, 50% or over 50% of marriages end up in divorce. How is that? I guess what I look at is that's a deep ditch to dig out of a lot of times. How do you help people to see that there's light at the end of the tunnel, that they can get through that? I mean, is it just based off your experience? Is it your knowledge? Tell us about that path, if you could.
Yeah, I mean, I had a sad story, but wow, I do not need to look far to see people who had it way worse than me. I mean, my heart breaks when I hear some of these stories of what, has transpired and endured in marriages and the deep, deep hurt that people have. So it can, feel overwhelming if you don't have the tools to know how to deal with it. So I looked over my 3 years of going on the retreats and sitting at counseling and going to the healing place, and what were really the things that moved the needle to get me through that, denial and shock and anger and bitterness and depression. How do you come through that? And what I found was what I put into my program and what I do with my clients. And the first thing is identity. You really need to know who you are and whose you are, on your own without another person, because everything in this world is so temporary, even being a wife or a husband or a mom or a dad or a child. So you have to know who you are on your own first. So redefining that. Forgiveness was huge. I know that's something people are like, oh, forgiveness, we don't want to talk about that. And if you knew my story, you would never tell me to forgive. And forgiveness is for yourself. So that was
Right.
one of the last pieces for me. I wish I had done it sooner, but I felt like a failure and I needed to forgive myself for that. So that's something I go through with my clients. Renewing your mind, because we stay so stuck in the past. We keep retelling that story over and over, and it's not even the way we remember it anymore, but we just stay stuck in that pattern. Gratitude is a superpower. So we absolutely, cover that. Self-love, it needs to start somewhere. So start by loving yourself and stop the negativity and the catastrophizing. Abundant health, because when your world is blowing up, your health is the one thing you can really do something about.
Yeah.
So help them to stay healthy. Um, Obviously, poverty happens during divorce. So we talk about wealth and abundance and creating that. And then the final part is joy, resurrection, and celebration, that it's not always going to be this hard, grieving valley, season of your life. It will get better.
Right. And that's a great one because, I mean, even, if you will, Good Friday was a dark day for Jesus. And look what happened from that.
Yes.
He resurrected. He came about. When you said joy and resurrection, it's like, yeah, Easter morning. Think about that. That everybody's woo, yay. And there's going through those dark periods of all those is good value because it strengthens you. I mean, forgiveness, like you said, it's not for the other person, it's for yourself. You've got to realize that forgiveness. You got to quit carrying that bag of rocks around. And that's a heavy weight a lot of people just want to keep carrying. And it's like, we don't have to do that. We can set it down, we can leave it alone, learn from it, and grow. How do you? What are some of the benefits? One of the things that I liked is you talk about visualization, and that's always good. And I help clients do that as well because it helps them to see a different perspective. Because if they're looking at one thing and they're in, they're down, if you will, feeling down, feeling bad, they're like this. They don't see all the greenery and all the things that are around them and the possibilities. What are some ways you help people to visualize and to see better opportunities, if you will, coming out of these situations?
Yeah, that is a great question. I have always been a big believer in visualization. In fact, in the corner of my site at all times is my vision board. So I can see it all the time, that in my office, I've had pictures of it on my phone. So I've always been a big believer in having the vision. But when you are down in that victim place, it is hard to see. That is the lowest level of existence, to be a victim. It's that dark cloud is following me. Life is happening to me. There's nothing I can do. And the highest point is that love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. And the tipping point to go from victim to love is courage. So at some point, you need to build that boldness. You need to build that courage in you again to believe. And what you believe, those thoughts become your actions become your habits, and the habits become the identity. So it does start first with the belief. Um, One of the things I do in my program, I have a healing guide. So the healing guide has affirmations, and I give them the affirmations. So, for example, affirmations surrounding forgiveness.
Right.
Then I give them a meditation, which is something to listen to. And it's just letting that wash over you, that you are forgiven. So you're feeding your mind And we can't separate the body, the mind, and the spirit. I mean, the soul is the mind, the will, the emotions. It is all connected. So start just letting that meditation soak over you. Then I do give them a visualization where I have them imagine that they're in heaven. And so go to some place quiet, wherever it is you meet with God, if it's outside or on your couch, in your bed, and just imagine what it would be like to be in heaven and visualize that. And you get to ask really good questions to the
Yeah,
creator of the universe. And he doesn't see you as a failure, and he
yeah,
doesn't see you as, lack and not enough and unworthy and unlovable and all the things you might be saying to yourself in this season of divorce or really any grief. And so when you can be in that presence and see from a perspective of how God sees things, then you have hope. Then you can start to believe again and be encouraged again. And then you take those things and you write them down and you put a picture, you give something that represents what that vision is. And then you look at it and you read it and you let that wash over you. And that eventually will become your new belief. One of the things that I work with my clients on is a to don't list. So before we can do something new and visualizing this amazing future that we can get so excited about, what do you need to stop doing? So maybe you need to stop criticizing. Maybe you need to stop judging, gossiping, complaining. It kept the Israelites for 40
yeah,
years in the
exactly. Yeah,
desert. Like, what your words have power. And so what's coming out of your mouth is that, double-edged sword. It's life or death. I mean, words got you married and words probably got you divorced. Words get you the job and words get you fired. So
yeah.
just looking at the life that your words give and what's inside you, within your heart is what's coming out of you. So when life gets tough, when you get squeezed, when it's stressful, that's the real you that comes out. And it's either going to be the best of you or the worst of you. And when you're at that victim place, it's going to be the worst of you. So we want to get the courage built so they can visualize, a really incredible future, because the plans on their life are still good.
And that's what a lot of people forget when they're in these situations is there's a greater plan for you. This is not it. Obviously, there's things you have to go through and experience and grow from, but there's a better plan. And we've got to keep that in our mind that, that will help carry us forward. This will help to do the actions we need to do to get through what we're in now so that we can, like you said, get to that better place. I love that idea of visualizing being in heaven. And it reminds me of a scene from The Shack. And they talk about that when somebody, or other movies that have shown where people pass on and come back and that experience they have. But there's a scene in there where the guy is running across the water with Jesus, couldn't believe he was doing it. And all of a sudden he started thinking about his stuff and he started to sink. And then they have the camera go under the water and all you see is a hand come down and grab it and then pull him back up. And it's that idea that somebody's always there. It may not be physically, but God's always there. And you're going to have that help with you. And so these things will get better. So keep that in mind. Great explanation. And there's another thing that you mentioned too, when you're talking about that reiteration of positivity, if you will, in your life and letting that, that flow over you. Zig Ziglar used to say that about, positivity. It's like, we've got to wash off the negative. And to do that, you've got to, continue to clean yourself, cleanse your mind, continue to keep that positive coming into your life. Because, as he always said, a bath is recommended every day. I highly recommend it. And the same thing with positivity. Highly recommend it because it will wash the stuff off of you so that you can stay positive, stay focused.
So true.
And it's interesting too, because in our times, there's so much going on, so many people that vocalize how they're feeling, oppressed, they're feeling down, they feel struggles, all kinds of things going on in our world. What are some things that people could do that might help them to overcome these daily events constantly that, help them to grow, help them to keep positive, to grow out of their scenarios or be better for themselves. And then because they become better for themselves, our world becomes a better place.
Absolutely. There's going to be trouble in the world. We know that. There's going to be hard times. And I feel like people are not taught resilience enough. I mean, rejection is just a part of life. No one was more rejected than Jesus.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
exactly.
he took every rejection that we could possibly have. And Jesus isn't rejecting us. So we have to remember that it is the world, it is hurt people, but we need to have the resilience to get back up again. So when you've been knocked down 10 times, it's hard and you have a choice. You can stay down or get back up. I want people to get up that 11th time. And it does get hard when you have so many things bombarded you, and especially during divorce, because your house is changing, your marital status, your kids, I mean, everything, where you work, where you go to church. I mean, so much can be changing and it can feel like a lot. The person who you went to the altar with, you never thought you'd be apart. And now there's the soul tearing. And so it is a lot. It is hard to get back up again, but don't stay down. So what can you do? A great morning routine is one of the things that is miraculous, because if you commit to doing things in the morning that are positive, it sets your tone for the day. So I get up 2 hours before my first appointment, and I don't get out of bed before I'm doing gratitude. And I have worship music on while I'm doing my cardio, and then I've got a sermon on while I'm doing my strength training. And when I'm in the shower, I've got positive things washing over me, and I'm doing gratitude and prayer, and I'm putting warm water with lemon in. And so figure out a routine that gives you life. Do you need to read your goals? Do you need to have affirmations playing? Do you need to, listen to some positive message? Start your day off, not with your trouble, but fueling and feeding your mind, body, and spirit. And do the same thing at the end of the day. So leave the trouble behind, write it down, write your to-do list, write what you're grateful for. It is such a superpower just to do gratitude, because even if your day didn't go the way you wanted, if you're listening to this, you have some technology, you probably have a pen, and maybe you have a car and a roof over your head. There's always something. You have air in your lungs, your, eyeballs. There's so much. Start somewhere. And it'll start out kind of mechanical, like, well, I took my vitamins today, check, that was good. But when you do gratitude for a while, you get to a place where you go through your day looking for things to be grateful for instead of the opposite. And then you're like, wow, nobody had the day that I had. Like I got to talk to Bob today. Like, wow, the sun is shining. This is so cool. So it's just a perspective shift. Writing is another thing where if you can just sit down and expressively write, things will come out of you, because sometimes you might feel like you're crazy or there's no hope. But when you start writing and think about, well, what do I want? What's good about this? Start asking yourself better questions, because there is always an upside if you go deep enough. So those are just some of the things that I do with my clients.
That's great, because they're reminders, and it's what I found interesting. What you said, it was manual things, write down, have the the warm water run over you, if you will. It wasn't get on your phone and text stuff. It was manually, and I tell people that too. Write out what your ideal day is. Literally, here's a pen, here's a pad of paper. You're going to write it out, not text it, not type it. You write it out, because you're seeing that, you're learning it, you're reading it to yourself. You've got three different ways of learning that, kinesthetically, audio, and writing it out, seeing it, visualizing it. Those all help you to solidify it more into your life. So great concepts, great reminders for people. And I love the idea in the morning. I mean, our mind is clearest in the morning. If we've woken up, that's a great way to start the day. I always say thank you for this day, because I get a day. It's a clean slate. Some people don't have that option. And, to be able to do that is just be thankful first thing in the morning. It's a great scenario. So thank you for those reminders. You also mentioned joy, and that's a good one too, because, again, life happens, things go on. What are some ways to see joy in our life, if you will? Let's remind people of those things, if you could.
Yes, absolutely. So I almost needed to give myself permission to have joy, because I felt, I was just in such a dark, low place. And I remember one day someone saying to me, it isn't always going to be this way. And it was just what I needed to hear in that moment, because it felt like it was always going to be sad and just bad news and, one bad thing happening after another. And joy does come in the morning. So we have a choice to go out and radiate joy. I mean, if people are supposed to know us by the signs and wonders, and if they're seeing someone with this dark cloud following around them, they're not going to know who I am by the fruit in my life. So joy comes in the morning, and I have to remind myself all the time to look for it. But it's like anything else, it's a habit. And if you practice it by loving yourself, by loving other people, by using words that speak life, by looking for things to celebrate, connect with people. I mean, joy is not meant to be done alone. We're here for connection. So take decisive actions to really connect with people. Surround yourself with other joyful people. If you don't have it in you, I have some friends that they just make me laugh. So I would make sure, at least once a month, I, went out with a girlfriend who just, I have a good time when I'm with her, because people aren't in our situation. We think they are, but they're ahead of us and they're joyful and they've overcome things. So surround yourself by people who are filled with joy. Watch a comedy show. There's a lot of clean comedy out there, like dry bar comedy, which is awesome. Look for things that make you laugh, hang around with happy people, get in the word, listen to worship. I don't know how you could be sad or depressed if you do those things.
And that's a great one too, because there's 66 books in the Bible. You got plenty of choices. It gives you a scenario for every situation you can imagine in your life, and it does give you positive, upbeat things. It says do not fear. What does it say that 365 times in the Bible? There's a reason for that. Go after that. I appreciate you saying network with people, get with people that give you the joy. In the way things are going in our society, it seems like people want to be closed off. But with technology like this, we get a chance to share with each other about this. You can go out and you can see people enjoying things. Down here in Florida, it's nice because sunsets are great. And you can just watch people dancing, and they get into the sunset. They enjoy that moment. And guess what? It's a natural thing that we get to enjoy all the time. And I think people forget to go out and enjoy those natural things. Go
Yes,
out and
even just
see.
getting outside. I mean, take your shoes off and walk in the grass. If you're in Florida, go walk in the sand and
Right.
walk around a lake, get under trees, get around nature. It's healing. It is so, so healing to do that. And if you do it with other people who are also joy filled, you're going to come home feeling just so much more filled with peace. And then you're going to sleep better. And it all just perpetuates one foot in front of the other. Things start to get better. And obviously the reverse is true. When you're stressed and you're not sleeping, you're not making good decisions, you're not eating well, and that perpetuates itself. So one of the first things is to really just get calm, because when you're stressed, it's just not a place to do life from. So first start by do whatever you can to get calm. So being outside is a great way to really calm your soul. And if outside's not peaceful, you get to make your home peaceful. Do what you can control and, release the things that you can't.
And that's another great point there. You mentioned get outside, see some greenery. Office space is the same way. Usually you probably sit in a gray or tan cubicle, okay, or your blank office walls. Put some posters up that are outdoor type posters. You can get them anywhere. If you like the beach, get the beaches. If you like the forest, get some greenery in the forest, some canopies being, they take pictures of looking up at canopies of trees. And it is soothing. It is calming. It gives you that peace, because things are going to go on in the office. If you're in the office or if you're busy with work, things are going to go on. And you want to be able to enjoy that. As we're talking about this, on my other screen, I have a shot from northern Michigan of Lake Michigan, and the colors in the water and the greenery of the trees on the shoreline. It's peaceful. It reminds me of a nice spot that I used to go to for vacation that I can go to and enjoy. And it really helps out no matter what you're doing. What are you doing to set yourself up for that?
Yes, I love that. Peaceful environment is huge. Declutter, get rid of the things you're not using, give it away. There's something that's so good for your heart when you can bless other people with the things you're not using. But I think simplifying things really helps when you can walk into a clean home and a clean car and a clean office. Otherwise, it's just really easy to feel the energy of the distraction of a mess.
How long did it take you to learn that? Because
I have actually always been that way. Thanks. I
okay,
mean, my mom and dad are, super neat and clean and everything has a place and nothing is out. And so people walk into my house and they're like, "Oh my goodness, did you clean for me?" You can knock on my door 24/7. My house, my car, it all is the same.
that's funny. And that's like you said, that's just a learned process for a lot of people because they'll I know I've done it before, and sometimes on my desk I've got to re-clean my desk because you'll put something there. Oh, I'll get to that. I'll put it there and get to that, and it keeps piling up. And then you've got to, okay, let's go through this again, clear all this up, clear it out, and that feeling of cleansing, if you will, that time to get rid of that that weight that might be around because you have a pile of paper sitting next to you that you're not going to go through. Things you don't use, give them away. Don't worry, don't worry about, well, I paid this much for it. No, no, no. You haven't used it for 6 months, get rid of it. You don't need it. Um, Especially when you move, that's a big thing. If you haven't opened a box for 6 months, 10 to 1, you don't need what's in there. Just keep it going.
Yeah, and especially during divorce too, where you don't want to bring the old into the new space. You really do want a fresh start because everything that's alive has energy to it. So if it's bringing back bad memories or even just old memories and now it's a fresh new start, go, if you haven't used it, give it away. I bless so many people with so much from, China to bedding and so on. And I have what I need.
Yeah,
And it feels so good not to have two and three and four of everything that's not being used when I can bless someone who really needs it.
right. Yeah, that simplicity of life is definitely a good thing. You don't have to eat bark for dinner, but you don't, like you said, you don't need 4 sets of china either. Yeah. I've got to ask you that heart behind you on your desk. What does that symbolize? Because it just looks so peaceful and it's reassuring there. So if you could tell us about that a little bit.
Thank you. Yes, and if you could see my entire office, there's love, love, love. I mean, believe all around me. I just have positive words. I needed
Good.
to have that around me. I mean, I wore t-shirts for literally 2 years that were, about empowerment and just peace and freedom and belief. I needed to surround myself with those things. So I have always, probably for about 15 years now, had a word of the year where the word
Awesome.
is the lens that I look through to really guide my year in how I spend the time. So for 2021, my word was meaningful. And that meant that I get to decide the meaning that I give to everything, but I also don't want to do anything that isn't meaningful. I already know my word for 2022, it's victory, but my overall life word is love. And so my goal is to let love win, that agape love, the highest possible, most excellent kind of love that, is a godly love. That is my goal. So I have a lot of hearts around my house.
Great. Well, thank you for that. It sounds like something John Gordon talks about, a word of the year.
Oh,
Uh,
I will look that up.
yeah, look up. He's got some great books. The Seed, The Coffee Bean, The Carpenter. Great, there's a lot of great book series talking about the positive life. Um, and he's gone through it. It's really he's got some real good books about that. So check that out.
I will. It's actually something I train on. I do a vision board party at my house every New Year's Day.
Oh,
And
cool.
I always have mine done ahead of time in December. And I train people on vision and then I keep up with them throughout the year to see how they're doing with manifesting what's on their vision board.
Awesome. That sounds great. It's a good way to spend the day, and get that focus towards positive goals, positive year. Great job with that. Well, Kelly, where can people find out more about you and get information on what you're doing and so forth? If you could tell us about that.
Thank you. Yeah, Bob, I would actually love if people emailed me. I mean, I really would love to connect with people, one-on-one and get to hear what their challenges are, maybe something that inspired them from hearing this that they want to share. And they can email me at Kelly, Kelli, at Kelli Calabrese, Calabrese.com. And they can find me at all the places using my name, website and Facebook and so on. But if they want to email me, I will personally respond. And I'm even happy to set up a little consultation with them and see if I can help them.
That's awesome. And you don't get that much from people as a direct email. So take advantage of that. If you've got a question, if you got a comment, you want to see more what Kelly's doing, check out what she's doing. Great stuff on her website. Definitely it's peaceful, it's harmonized. It's you feel the love on your website, and I appreciate that. The way you have it laid out, just it feels good, if you will, if that makes sense. People come to
Thank
you,
you.
I can see it calming, but yet powerful.
Thank you.
And
And I do have a private Facebook page for women going through any season of separation, divorce, post-divorce, that I pour into that page every single day. Very encouraging. We talk about the hard things, we give them hope, and that's called Intentionally Fabulous. So if they go to Facebook, Intentionally Fabulous, it's just women, private free group there. I'd love to have them join.
that's awesome. And we'll make sure we put that information in the show notes, put that for people so they can touch base with you on that. Kelli, I want to thank you for being guest on the Encouragement Engineering podcast today. I really appreciate your time, the information, the insight, the positiveness you offer people, the hope. Thank you so much for what you do. Please continue to do that, not only for women, but our world needs it, and you're out there doing it. So thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you, Bob. I really appreciate being a guest, and so just evangelizing your show. Happy to share.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Kelli. You have a great day.
You too.